The word squiggle, like, there's no way to say that and sound like a grown man. What's up, everybody? Kier Gomes here, and welcome back. So, I recently put out a poll about the new Alex Pandrea X deck, I think is what it's called. This one. I put out a poll asking if you guys would like to see me review it. Some of you said, whatever, doesn't matter. Some of you really wanted to see one. So, today we're gonna be taking a look at the X deck by Alex Pandrea. The original version of this deck came out like 2 years ago, I think, and it was so limited that not a lot of people were able to get one. I think that there was a lot of hype around bringing this deck back, and I'm not sure how well received it was, but I do know that I was actually very impressed with this deck when I got it. So we'll take a look at it. I'll give you my thoughts, and then as well, I would be really interested to hear what you guys think of this deck after this review, especially if you didn't already get one. Before we get started, please do drop a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And without further ado, intro.
Let's go.
Now, originally when this deck was printed, it was printed in white, and it was, I think, the first deck that Alex Pandrea designed all by himself. It was a fairly simple looking deck, but I think the idea of it was really cool. He designed it for his 30th birthday. X is the Roman numeral for 10, so there was 3 X's on it. It's fairly clever, but I think also for people that love minimalistic playing cards, it really was something a little bit more than a knock deck, but not so much more that it was no longer a simplistic design, which is, you know, something that Alex Pandrea is known for doing. Let's just look at the deck. The tuck box is done in all black matte. So you can see it's not very glossy. The cardstock is matte. It's very similar to something that you would see from like the Magician's Anonymous deck, but a little bit sturdier. This actually kind of feels like something you would get from Art of Play, to be honest, and I really like that. There's nothing written on either side or the top. The seal is just a white stamp, nothing written on it. And lightly embossed on the front is a white X with Alex Pandrea's signature right below it. I love the tuck box for this deck. I really do. This is something that, you know, I don't really care about tuck boxes for the most part, but I really like this matte black with just that white X and the signature. It gives it a very sleek aesthetic. I really like that. The bottom has some ad copy letting you know that this deck was printed by the United States Playing Card Company, which is what most people prefer. Nothing on the inside of the box. Let's peep the cards. Yes. Now, I have looked at this deck, but I haven't played with it yet because I wanted it to be still in as new of a condition as it could be for this review. All right, the back design of the deck looks like this. You get a pretty medium-sized border in white, and then you get a very kind of hand-drawn looking back design. It's got some messy and undefined black borders around it, and then the 3 X's look like they were kind of just hand-drawn. They are different, so that's really cool too. I think this is a nice touch. If they were 3 of the same X's, it wouldn't have that same charm, but it does make it for a one-way back design, which I also like because it's very subtle. So that's something that you can use for a magic effect. That subtle one-way back design thing seems to be very popular right now, and I dig it. I have no problem with that. This is what the deck looks like in a fan, if you fan it one way. And if you fan it the other way, you get one that looks like this. One more look at your back design. Very interesting. I really do like it though. I didn't know if I was going to. I'm honestly glad that I got one. I kind of wish I would have got 2. You do get 2 identical jokers. They kind of have a play on like knock jokers, only they're just made out of these squiggly lines in the corners instead of J's, or instead of saying joker, it's just these kind of thick black squiggles. The word squiggle, like, there's no way to say that and sound like a grown man. All right, and then you do get those 2 black X's, very similar of what you saw on the front of the tuck box and on the back of the cards. Great jokers, really good. I don't think that a lot of effort went into designing those jokers. I don't think that it took very much thought planning, but I think it works. I think that the jokers look really good. I'm into them either way. Not every Joker has to be a masterpiece. Not every Joker has to be, you know, hours and hours of line work. It could be something very simple that just looks good. And sometimes those ideas just come to you. Get a very dope ace of spades. I like this. I like this a lot. This kind of reminds me of like the Shin Lim Knox, only with a way simpler spade pip. It's just a giant spade with Alex Pandrea's signature in the middle in white. This is super, super cool. If I'm ever famous enough to do a signature deck that I think people would buy, I definitely would draw inspiration from something like that. I think that looks amazing. I love it. You might also notice though that the indices have Arco pips. So you can tell because the spade's a little bit chunkier, a little bit more round. One thing that I really like about this deck is that the faces are actually Arco standard. So we will talk about that in a second, but first let's look at the ad cards and Gaff cards. All right, so your first Gaff card is gonna be a double backer. However, it does have kind of a built-in effect. So this is what the back looks like, and then the face of it looks like this, like the X moves. So if you're watching this channel, you probably already know what effect you could do with that, and you probably know what effect I would do with that. All right, and your other Gaff card is gonna be nice and simple. It is a duplicate Queen of Hearts. All right, now I was really excited when I saw that the faces of this deck were Arco standard, so let's take a quick look at that. So as you can see, the pips and indices are based on the Arco playing cards. For comparison, I have an Arco deck, and I'll show you guys how similar the faces of these cards are. You can see that compared to a Bicycle Rider back, it's got a little bit more of a vintage feel. The pips are a little bit chunkier, specifically on the spades and hearts. I think this looks really cool. I don't know what you guys think, but I happen to love Arco standard faces. I think for me, it has to match the deck though. That's kind of my big thing is Arco pips are very specific. The Arco colors even are very specific. So if you don't have a vintage looking deck, then the customization on your Arco faces better be up to par. Kind of like the Orbit deck. Orbit always does it the right way. But I think it works for this. Not that this is a vintage looking design, but I think that because it's so simple with just being black and white, that having these like bright, outstanding Arco faces really, really works. I like it a lot. I was super excited when I saw that that was what Alex Pandrea did for this deck. All right, so that's pretty much it for how this deck looks. Let's switch angles and talk about how it feels. Now, in terms of handling, I really like this deck. You can see it is extremely thin. I was not expecting that. It was printed on, I think, classic bicycle stock, but then it was crushed. So the cards are super thin, but they feel very, very good. The deck looks like when you fan it. Very nice. I'll get a close up in there so you can see the edges look really cool with the kind of messy, undefined borders. It looks really nice. I like that a lot. You fan it for the indices, it looks pretty standard. You almost can't tell that it is Arco from there, but when you look at the faces, you definitely can. The cards spring really nicely. Because the deck is so thin, they just kind of glide. Now the finish on these is interesting. The finish feels very similar to the Fontaine Carrots decks, specifically the V2 and V3. As well, it feels a lot like the Fontaine Guest decks. I don't know if you guys know, but like that type of smoother finish that Fontaine uses on their collaboration decks feels a lot like that. But if you don't have any Fontaine decks, because let's face it, they're extremely expensive, in that case, I would compare it to maybe like a Black Roses deck. It feels very similar. It might be a little bit thinner because Black Roses are on Crushed Premium. And actually, this might be Crushed Premium, but it looks thinner and it feels thinner. But it feels about the same. So if you like the way that the crushed USPCC decks feel, this deck is definitely going to make you happy. It's very, very satisfying to play with. Here's that new dribble sound. Ooh. Oh, God, I love that. I'm curious to see what these look like under pressure, so let's check it out. Oh, not bad. Not bad. That actually looks pretty cool. Again, with the messy borders, I think that looks nice. The cards spread very, very well. This is definitely a deck that you could use for Magic. It's extremely, extremely simple. And that's something that I really like about it. Plus, the Gaff card has that built-in magic effect, so definitely a deck I think that suits Cardists and Magicians both. As you can see, they definitely Pharaoh best from top to bottom. Nice. Snappiness check. Ooh, my God, I almost didn't catch it. Let's try that again. Yeah, these cards are super snappy. You can hear kind of. They have some structure, which is cool. Cards are so thin and so soft. They snap, but they still feel very, very satisfying. Like, they just feel so good. It's very, very satisfying to play with. And the only thing that I can really say is you have to feel it for yourself to know what I mean. But they feel great. Well guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode and my review of the X deck by Alex Pandrea and the Blue Crown. I actually really like it. I will say I wish I would have bought another one. The way that these cards feel, I think, is the biggest selling point for me. They are super thin. So Alex Pandrea, if you see this video, great job. This looks really good. If you guys are interested in picking this deck up for yourself, I have to check it out. I think it might be sold out already, but if it is not, I will leave the link below where you can pick it up. Also, if you're new to this channel, I'm currently doing a couple of giveaways. So I'm doing a giveaway with Black Rose's playing cards. We're giving away a Black Rose's t-shirt and a deck of cards. And then as well, I'm giving away a Hydrogen deck and a Hypnotic deck by Docs and Elemental playing cards. So I'll leave all of those videos somewhere in here at the end of this video. If you're interested in entering, click on it, make sure you watch the whole thing, and you can go ahead and enter. I think that's pretty much it for me today, guys. So I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. I know I will. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
It's so contaminated, let's just examine it, cause it will never let me go. Ain't no preacher in the world that can say this. I'm a creature of the world. All my friends are here and now you've got yourself a problem. Now you all can get it like me. Ain't no preacher in the world that can say this.